and gentlemen, it is now noon. We will begin our 60 minutes of 60, 90 minutes today since we're doing overtime.
It's going to go quick.
If you'll join me with a pledge, and I'll say the invitation this afternoon. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join with me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you today for rain, for sunshine, for heat, for summer, the things that grow, just thanks for the seasons that we can enjoy. I just pray today, Father, that you would be with us as we go over this budget information. Pray your blessing over our staff and safety for those working in public works as they're draining water and doing all the fun stuff. But be with us now, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Fun is kind of in practice. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve today's agenda. Wait a second.
I second.
Krista seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Citizen comments. 3 minutes on the clock if you'd like to come forward. Doesn't look like anyone here today, so we'll move on. Ex parte conflicts. Just want to give everybody a chance to acknowledge any conflicts or conversations they might have that might create any issues and conflicts with today's discussion. We'll get on that. We have no appointments, we have no consent agenda, we have no unfinished business. We're going to be done in 2 minutes. Item H, anyway. Moving on, item I, new business, strategic annexation development project. Sir Craig.
Alright, this is a whole new perspective of giving a presentation to City Council. Everything alright, Chief? Okay. Well, Craig Crossett, City Administrator, it's my pleasure to present to you the first item of new business this afternoon. It's the Strategic Annexation and Development Project with TCRS. So it comes as no surprise to the governing body of the community, but our fine city is experiencing sustained population growth, and we're looking to proactively secure control over the future growth corridors adjacent to the community. So TCRS, the developer, they're under contract to purchase a key 80-acre parcel. We call that Parcel 1. It's adjacent to the city limits. They also control a second parcel adjacent to Parcel 1, that one being Parcel 2. And then they have the Rachel Brooks Estate subdivision. The developers propose that in exchange for financial assistance from the city to acquire Parcel 1, that all 3 tracts be annexed into the city of Goddard. So you can see here on my map, if you look, this is going to be on the northeast side of our community. We have Parcel 1 here. Right here is Maple Street. If you see my laser, down here is Kellogg. This is 167th running north to south. If you're familiar with Bridger and Maple, now we call it Pine View Valley. That's going to be right here. We have the Ballman property, which is in the city limits right here. If the Northwest Expressway is of interest to you, it goes down this way and cuts through the Ballman property. And then there's going to be an interchange here with US 54. Parcel 1, it is touching Parcel 2. And then we have the Rachel Brooks Estates subdivision here. Already have several lots that are under construction at that project. So city staff, under the leadership of our legal counsel, have negotiated some documents for city council consideration this afternoon. We have a memorandum of understanding, an ordinance authorizing execution of related documents, a loan agreement and promissory notes, and then the mortgage securing the city's investment. All of those were in your agenda packet that we sent out ahead of the meeting. So breaking this down a little further, the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, it outlines the intent and key terms of the agreement between the city and TCRS. It affirms that TCRS is under contract to purchase parcel 1. The city would provide a $1 million loan to support the purchase. The loan is forgivable if the 3 tracts are successfully annexed and remain within city limits. TCRS will deliver signed petitions from all necessary parties consenting to annexation for parcels 1, 2, and all of Rachel Brooks estates. The annexed Rachel Brook property could be exempt from mandatory utility connections and utility service unless petitioned by the owners. That was the MOU. Looking at the loan agreement and the mortgage, the $1 million loan would be funded through borrowing, not general reserves. That would be secured by a recorded mortgage. The loan becomes eligible for forgiveness upon successful annexation of the properties. In the unlikely event the annexations are unsuccessful, $750,000 of the loan must be repaid by the developer to the city. The mortgage provides the city legal recourse and security to recover the funds if repayment is required. Let's look at the successive annexation aspect of this. Here's kind of how that sequence would occur. Following closing on parcel 1, which is anticipated that last week of August, the city would initiate a staged annexation process. Parcel 1 annexed first, followed by parcel 2, and finally Rachel Brook Estates, each by separate council vote and at successive council meetings. The stepwise approach ensures legal compliance with state statute. Once all 3 properties are successfully annexed, the loan will be eligible for full forgiveness. Ordinance attached, that document authorizes all of these actions to occur. It authorizes the mayor to execute all necessary agreements and empowers the city to borrow the funds for the forgivable loan. Looking at the financials, the city's annual debt service on the loan is estimated at approximately $85,000. Looking at the payback here, ROI, of course, return on investment is a pretty important aspect when you consider something like this. Rachel Brook Estates is already partially built with high-value homes, projected to generate over $129,500 annually in property tax revenues, covering the city's loan repayment in the initial year. If full build-out of parcels 1 and 2 occur over time, annual property tax revenues, including Rachel Brooks Estates as well, could exceed $823,000, resulting in over $16 million in cumulative revenue over the 20-year period that we were looking at in our cost-benefit analysis. That revenue stream would help support city services and infrastructure expansion. Legal team, special thanks to Ryan Peck and the others at Morris Lang. Lots of time and effort into this to ensure that all those items were accounted for. The annexation process will comply with state statute. We do have legal safeguards in the loan agreement, including a recorded mortgage and tiered forgiveness provisions. So we got a few recommendations here. All of these need to be voted on separately. We have the approval of the MOU, that would be a voice vote. The ordinance, that would be a roll call vote. The authority for either myself or a designee to be present at closing to execute the loan agreement, promissory note, and mortgage. That will be a voice vote as a third action item here. So with that, I want to allow an opportunity for our city attorney to make any comments. We do have Ryan Mills and Mark Elder here representing TCRS. If there's any questions of them from the council, and at this time, I will be quiet and hear any feedback or questions you guys may have, or allow others to comment as well.
I don't really have anything else to add. I did a really good job summarizing the agreement. So certainly happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Yes, I'll say a couple things. One, I think, the question is, why would you do something like this? Part of the thought process that we've gone through is this area to the east of us, Wichita moves in and encroaches on us. This gives us the ability to kind of set our eastern border. It also fits into strategies that relates to some purchase of additional water rights. So the development of that corridor will happen much quicker probably than some of the other developments that we end up having built in the ring around our community. So I think that in terms of the payback, the property tax, it's about an 8-year payback on that. So by borrowing the money, we're not using any city revenues. We're just extending the property tax as a benefit, really like we do to a lot of commercial developments and things that we've given incentives to. So, and how that bypass expressway, as that cuts through there, that changes the whole dynamic of that whole area. There's potential development because of that. If you look at the east side, there's development for commercial, probably, apartments and a lot of different things. I've heard a realtor or two think that maybe 167th will develop in some degrees like Mays Road in terms of the combination of retail, commercial, apartments. And it really, if that bypass goes through there, that area, although it's a part of the city, it kind of gets separated from Old Goddard, refer to that, in this corridor to the east, and really it's going to be built just like the rest of West Wichita. So it allows us to grow our tax base, has an impact on our water future, and I think as we've gone through discussions, we're all in agreement this is a long-term play, and it's thinking ahead and forward thinking. So I just appreciate all the staff and the work that's gone into that. Appreciate, Brian, your work and your willingness to work with us on this. So we'll find out in 7 or 8 years whether this is a good deal. But I think it is. But like anything else, it comes with risks. But I think this is a positive risk to take, and it's looking forward and not looking back. Anyone else want to add to that?
I agree. That's a lot of hard work. I appreciate it.
All right. There are no comments. Good in the back rows. Okay, very good. Let's go ahead and do this thing here. I entertain a motion to approve the memorandum.
I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with TCRS LLC.
Chris has made the motion.
Second.
Naomi seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 2.
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance authorizing the city to proceed with a forgivable loan transaction.
Albert's made the motion.
I second.
Krista seconds. Roll call.
Councilmember Hall?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Ordinance 1005.
1005. Very good. One more step here.
I make a motion to grant the authority to the city administrator or his designee to execute the loan agreement, promissory note, and mortgage as presented at the time of the closing.
Naomi's made the motion. Albert seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda, I-2, budget workshop. More fun than 2 minutes should be allowed to have. Rock and roll time. Here we go. Let's knock this out.
We're almost done. This is the final work session of the remaining budgets that we're going to cover. So you should give yourself a round of applause for enduring this long, drawn-out process. With that being said, if we determine at the end of today or between now and August 13th, when we have our public engagement event, that you'd like to have another meeting, we can sure do that as well. So just kind of the process will be, we'll wrap up here, and then if we don't really have any changes per se, we're going to start moving forward to conduct our community engagement event and try to get that publicized and all of the paperwork pretty much finalized to get this show down the road. So, with that being said, our final budget our final budget funds for this budget are right here. We're going to go over the Tourism and Promotion Fund, the CID, the Tanganyika Fund, the TBD Galleria, our Equipment Reserve, Capital Improvement, Star Bond Funds, And just so you should know, not all of these funds are considered budgeted per se, but we are budgeting for those as the city. So statutorily, we don't have to budget for capital improvement, equipment reserve, and a few others. But I feel like it's a good idea to do that anyway, so we can make sure that our balances are looking healthy throughout the year. So the very first one that we're going to go over today is our Tourism and Promotions Fund. This fund is, I call it Danny's fund. She gets to take charge of this fund. But this fund took some restructuring because in the past, all of our chamber donations kind of flowed through here and a piece out of our general fund. And so that's kind of how this fund started, was being utilized. And so we have shifted all of those chamber events out of the general fund into this fund, so you're going to see that through this. Also, this fund is where we deposit our transient guest tax, and so it goes into this fund as well as a revenue source. The events that we want to highlight that Danny has taken on through this program, she handles the Main Street markets, our National Night Out, Fall Festival, Christmas on Main Street, and our Neighbors United, and then she does obviously a lot of other things for the city as she's doing today and so on. So this fund is developing, it's transforming. There's a lot of assumptions made this year and kind of for next year, but I think once we have a year under our belt, we'll really be able to determine how this fund is going to function. But we did the best we could with the data that we have, knowing that there may be some changes into the future. So, as I mentioned, our revenue streams are our transient guest tax. We have a little bit of interest revenue. She seeks out registration fees and sponsorships for her programs. And then in 2026, as you recall, we decided to put $75,000 into this fund from the general fund just to make up for that transient guest tax that we're not fully getting the benefit of. Expenditures that are new into this fund as well will be personnel. That's where we handle salaries for Danny, administration and supplies, and then direct program costs. So we're doing some things to organize those revenues and expenses for those different events that she's having. The revenue sources, this is kind of the history of this fund and how it's going to change over time. Again, our revenue from our transient guest tax is in there. You'll see in 2024 it was high at $76,000. As that got adjusted and sent back to pay Star Bond debt, it's substantially declined. So that is kind of what we project, at least for the next few years, about $17,000 to come in. A little bit of interest income, contributions, registrations. We've broken these out per event that we feel like we'll be getting registration income from. So Main Street registrations, we feel like that's really pretty accurate, knowing that we have almost a full season of registrations for that line item. So we feel pretty confident about that. National Night Out, Christmas on Main Street, and Goddard Fall Festival are really estimates at this point. We feel like they could probably be a lot higher. These are real conservative numbers put in here, but until we really understand how much money we can promote and drum up for, as Danny goes out and promotes different things to try to offset these costs, those are budgeted really conservatively right now. And again, you'll see our general fund support there as well. So our total revenue for 2026 is estimated at $111,000. Yeah, that's up $74,000 from the year before. And just to say, a piece of the revenue actually it stayed within the general fund, or the general fund was the one funding the chamber cost. So it's kind of misleading just a little bit there. So for our expense summary, you will see our personnel, administration, and program and events. 2025 and 2026 really show what we kind of project our expenses to be. It shows our personnel costs. the administration of just running different things through the city, and then our program and events costs. So overall, we're really trying to estimate what these are going to be. I think Danny's done a really good job of going out and just trying to forecast, you know, the different events and what we can project those expenses to be. So year-over-year change, again, it's a little off. It looks a little different just because payments to the chamber were actually handled here and in the general fund. This is just a summary of kind of what we've talked about already. You know, this fund now has personnel costs going up from 51K to 63. This covers her base pay, overtime, Social Security, Medicare benefits. Administration includes everything like marketing, event, utilities, printing, travel, and training. And our program expenses cover really direct costs related to those different events that we have. One of the things that we need to watch out for in this fund is since transient guest tax is down, we're making basically a transfer in from the general fund. Until we truly know what our revenues are going to be from these events that we're having, we're going to have to really start watching our fund balance and just kind of managing our events that we hold through this fund out, you know, basically at about 2028. We really need to start looking at this, because if our projections were just kind of flat like we are now, it's going to show that this fund is going to be depleted, and then we're going to have to reevaluate maybe the programs that we're offering, or, you know, trying to promote more or do more with fundraising. So it's one that, like I said, it's kind of a learning year. This is definitely a learning year for this fund. Next year we'll have really true numbers, so we'll be able to project exactly how that's going to happen. And I would expect that the transient guest tax will pick up and continuously help fund that. So if we're starting to fall off, we'll probably have to make more transfers in from the general fund just to subsidize this fund.
Rick, if I may, one of the things that we have our legal team looking at right now is a charter ordinance to increase the transient guest tax rate in our community. So basically, when you are in a hotel or Airbnb, you pay a 6% transient guest tax rate, which is one of the lowest in the county area. There's communities in our county that have it at 8%. There's communities in the KC Metro that have it up to 9%. So I think it would behoove us to look at increasing ours from either 6 to 8 or 6 to 9. Those are folks who are coming in to visit, not our taxpayers, so to speak, that would be paying those additional costs, unless you're having a staycation, I guess. But I'm of the train of thought that if you are playing a baseball game at the sports complex and you're staying here from Oklahoma, you'd probably pay the extra 2 to 3% to be, you know, a couple hundred feet from the ball diamonds, and instead of saving yourself a couple of percent by getting in a hotel on West Kellogg. So I think that charter ordinance could create an opportunity for quite a bit additional transient guest tax revenue, which is super important when we think about the fact that we are not getting any out of the Hampton Inn right now, and if we increase that, it will accelerate the pay down of the Star bonds, because everything that's collected at Hampton is going towards Star bond amortization. So I think this is kind of one of those little areas that we found that we may be able to generate a little extra revenue and not on the dime of our citizens. So hopefully we will have that charter ordinance to us maybe in the next 1 to 2 council meetings, and that's something we can take a serious look at.
So that pretty much wraps up that fund. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to say I want to thank Danny for all her hard work. I mean, stepping into a situation like this, I think we've had some real success with the 2 markets that we've had, and Neighbors United was really good, and I just look forward to August 8th and what happens with National Night Out. We just appreciate her efforts and what she's doing. Because in addition to that, she does have other duties within the office here, and she's done a nice job with those as well. So.
Moving along, our next fund is the CID Tanganyika. This is basically a pass-through fund that, again, it's treated almost like the library. We receive some sales tax in, we send it straight back to Tanganyika. So, just some historical facts. In 2023, we collected $111,000 and we were able to remit $101,915. This has been set up to have to abide by the budget authority, so it's the same thing. If we budget $100,000 and they bring in 150, we can only give them 100 until next year when we make that up, and that's kind of the way that we would work that. In 2024, we collected 103,000. Our budget authority was 100, so we sent them 100. In 2015, our budget authority is 115, but I'm actually seeing it trending down. So I'm not. I went ahead and budgeted for 115,000 in our budget here if we brought it in, but I think it's going to be substantially less. It's not performing like it normally does. So I mean, there may be. We just pass along what we get. So revenue and reimbursements, I set at 100 for 2026, just to kind of stay consistent with what we did in the past. So you'll see sales tax in, just a little bit of interest income there over time. So it's staying about 110 to $100,000. But again, I think this is just seasonal. I mean, we don't really have any control over the sales tax out of Tanganyika, but that's what we do with it. Payments to Tanganyika, we usually, there's what I just basically said, budgeted 115. If we get 115, we'll give it to them. If not, then we give them what we have, but we can't exceed that 115,000. Budget set for 100. I mean, we could change that to 115. We could change it to $2 million. I mean, whatever we want. It doesn't really matter. They get what we bring in. So it's a pretty easy fund. There's no fund balance calculation in this one. Again, it's an in and out sort of thing. We don't abide by the 25% or anything like that with this fund. So again, like I said, this is an easy day for budget stuff. This is an in and out. Not much to talk about. So. Any questions?
Rick, do you know if the CID there is a 2% or a 1%?
I think it's 1. No, 2.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Our next fund is the TDD at the Goddard Galleria. This collects incremental transportation development district's tax levy within the Goddard Galleria area. And we've been holding this and not really doing anything with this fund. It's just been collected and held within the fund. But into the future, we're going to use these funds to help service the debt on the Olympic Park bond until property tax revenues and the pilot payments start exceeding that amount. So it's just a source to help service the debt. Historically, in 2023, we brought in $3,067. In 2024, jumped up a little bit to $13,000. Projected in 2025, about $16,000. So we'll go ahead and budgeted for 17 in 2026. So again, we use these funds to help service the debt. It's just kind of sitting there in that fund to do that. There's your revenue summary, showing sales tax in, a little bit of interest. It is nice that it is picking up some increase in revenue there because it does, like I said, help service the debt that we have on the the Olympic Park debt. Expenses, we will use whatever we can here to service the debt, and it's going to be basically an in and out, just kind of what money we get in, we'll kind of use in that year. So it's really not one that we accumulate fund balance as well. It's just one of these depository type funds. Any questions on that one? So that one's pretty simple stuff. All right, this is a little more fun to talk about. The equipment reserve fund. This is one that, like I mentioned earlier, reserve funds aren't a budgeted fund, but we will budget for this to kind of project our cash flow and our spending needs through this fund with equipment. Trying to be real purposeful on how we spend money in here. A lot has been set aside for emergencies. Any equipment that we've decided to purchase has typically been handled, especially in the utility funds, through our new public works and equipment plan that we have. So those are budgeted operationally. The only ones that we're really going to pay for are going to be our police items, and that will be a transfer in from the general fund here to pay those costs. So we have some revenue sources. We have some interest income. We always seem to have some insurance costs or recoveries put in there. There's just kind of some hit or miss there. Some asset sales, anytime we trade something in, we'll probably include it in this revenue stream. And then we transfer in from other funds small amounts, or a large amount from the general fund to cover police cars and equipment, computer equipment, things that we budgeted for in the general fund. Small amounts from sewer, water, and streets. And we're not transferring in anything from streets this year, but a small amount from sewer and water. In 2025, I think this next, well, let's talk about this page next, and then I'll go back when I get you to the summary pages. So in 2026, these are the items that we planned for. And I think all of these we've talked about in the other funds that we've worked through. So we've talked about purchasing 2 police vehicles, which are going to roughly be $160,000 plus their outfitting. Workstation and Azure migration. This is, I think we budgeted for $35,000 in the general fund. I went ahead and bumped it up to 10 just in case we needed a little extra room in there, but that's all of the workstations that are on rotation that we have throughout City Hall and actually all city staff that need to be updated and replaced, and then migrate them to the cloud. That's something that we decided to take on. Police camera upgrades, we have a contract that goes out through 2027. I think that started in 2024. And it's just something that's an annual cost, but I went ahead, that kind of came in as a surprise to me after we've done the general fund, so this got put here, so we made sure that we account for that. Emergency allocations, I love to put these in here because we're always having an emergency on something. $25,000 for equipment failures. I'm giving Public Works $12,500 for any sort of vehicle repairs. Emergencies, Public Works, that should have said, I got that on there twice, sorry about that. I thought that was funny when I was looking at that earlier. PD, vehicle emergencies, $10,000 for police as well, so if they have any sort of issues too, they've got a little bit of buffer there to help cover things. Revenue sources, as I mentioned earlier, we have a little interest, insurance, and sale of equipment. I didn't budget for any of that in 2026 because you just never know what you're going to get. And then our transfers in are from many sources there. In 2026 will be about $245,000. $195,000 of that is general fund coming in for the rest is from sewer and water utility. Expenses. Your expense summary, I went ahead and included all the things that we plan to finish out in 2025, and also you'll see 2026 in there. So we have about $17,000 remaining, or that's what we will spend in 2025 for computer and office equipment, cameras and visual equipment, $37,000, vehicles, $26,000. That's what we spent today on those. Water tower lighting, that's one that's been mentioned and put on my list for kind of that with an amount. I can't remember if that was short or that. I think it might have been coming a little bit higher than there. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one at quote at 30 and a quote at 50, so we kind of just shot in the middle,
Okay.
the 40.
So we went ahead and put that in there, meaning if we do it, it's there. If not, it's no loss. I mean, we just keep those funds in the bank. Safety equipment, the $9,000 of shoring equipment shows up here. And we have $25,000 worth of emergency allocation in 2025. So I've already mentioned the things on the 2026 column, but we gotta check out our fund balance here to, you know, put both of those years in there to see where we're gonna end up with the end of the year. So if we do our fund balance roll forward, I kind of show, I mean, I did a projection with a 5% annual increase and about a 3% increase in expenses, just to kind of show how this would work out. And, you know, if this is the way it goes, you know, we're gonna start getting lower than we wanna be in 2029. I mean, we're not below the 25% threshold that we wanna maintain, but this goes to show if we have this high of expenses and revenues, you know, we need to make sure that we're watching these balances. And, you know, we're gonna have some other revenues that come into this to do, and maybe we don't do the water tower lighting, but this at least sets us up to do what we know we're going to do and then have some room for emergencies. And, you know, we'll just see how this plays out in the next few years. But if we start dipping below where we like to be, then we have to put the brakes on things or transfer more in maybe from the utilities to kind of refresh this a little bit more from the general fund. So any questions on equipment reserves? Any comments? Are we happy with those items that we kind of have on our list of plans? Again, like I said, most of these you've seen before in the other funds. This is just where it's going to be paid from.
Looks good.
Looks good. All right, capital improvement fund. Should be called capital headache fund, but they won't let me do that. So the presentation is different in this fund than you've seen in the other funds because it just operates a lot differently, and I'm treating it a lot different than we have in the past. So I'm working really hard to flush out all of the temp note projects out of this fund and get them to their own fund, and when they complete, they're no longer in here, and trying to use this fund for more of an emergency base. So you'll see we've line itemed all our capital projects within the utilities and the sewer and the streets, and those are where those are handled. I did put the SCADA proceeds in here to do the SCADA project, but going forward, if we start doing large projects like North Park and water looping and public works facilities and other facilities, I'm going to set up a fund for each of those, a capital improvement fund for each one of those. So we put the money in there and we keep it together just a little bit more. This is just kind of gets put in here and first come, first serve, and that's just kind of the way it goes. And so you can't really look at the past to make any sense with numbers and percentages and over and under and those types of things. So just keep that in mind. Let's see here. The 5 and 5 street program, which we've already mentioned, that's going to be handled through the special highway fund and not through here as well. I mean, in 2025, it's going to be handled through here because that's the way it was planned for last year. We're moving that to the street fund so it can be handled through that into the future. So again, just a lot of changes, the way we're handling this fund. So this fund does generate a lot of money through interest income. It's obviously our largest fund. I mean, if you saw my presentation last night, you saw that, you know, it usually sits on 25 million or so in that fund. So it gets the largest allocation of interest income. In 2025, we're going to have some reimbursements come into this fund that we expect. KDOT projects, Rural Water District Partner project, and then you'll see our bond proceeds that came in as well for the SCADA project. So, and some transfers in. The transfers in are from a good portion of that's from the general fund, the 972 that comes in for the street project to be handled through here. Going forward in 2025, I kept it pretty clean because we don't know if we're going to get grant projects with matching, but if so, we would put them here or in another fund and work through that. We will have transfers in 2026 of 36,000, we usually 36,000, from the water fund, just repaying some of its debts to this fund is what I call it. So we have to, as I'm trying to work through what's in this fund and what our remaining balance is in this fund, I worked through all the projects that we plan to do in 2025 and lined item them out here to kind of put the dollars to that. And then again in 2026, just some line items that we plan for. So, you know, whether we've completed them or not, more than likely, this is at the end of the day what I hope the numbers will be. This isn't to-date numbers. So, stormwater projects, easements, rural water district, partner project, a Northwest Expressway commitment. You'll see $25,000 there. That is that contract we have with the county. Is that what that one is?
Yeah, so we didn't pay the 5,000 for like
5 years. Yeah.
So I don't know if they had been singing as a bill or not, but we got a big bill to make up for all those missed payments. So moving forward, it'll just be 5,000 a year. Of course, unless there's some advancements there, and maybe we need to get a little more skin in the game. I don't anticipate that at this point, but it should just be $5,000 a year for the foreseeable future.
So that's what that is. Let's just see. So going down through so again, these are all the projects that we plan for. I do put in $150,000 annually for emergency allocation. So if something happens, we've got some extra money in line item or something we want to use that money for. So with those numbers, I start with our beginning fund balance at the beginning of the year, and then roll through revenues and expenses to kind of show what I expect our fund balance to be for city funds. So after we do those projects in 2025, you know, if we stay within our means, we could be sitting at 1.6 million at the end of 2029 or 2026. And I don't budget this out any further than that because this is kind of a case-by-case situation in the capital improvement fund, but we will have money there, and all the other projects that we plan to do will be handled elsewhere, or you've already seen them in the other budgets that we've already presented. Does that make sense to everybody? I know it looks a little different than the rest, but can't really calculate a 25% reserve balance in this one either, because you don't really know what your expenses are unless you stay true to what you were going to spend. And that's really hard to do in this fund just because you never know if you're going to have emergencies or not. So, okay. Any questions on the capital improvement fund? Any questions on the projects? I guess I didn't tell you the brush pile rehabilitation. That was a surprise this year. It came in. I don't know if we're going to have that every year, but I just went ahead and put it in there just in case. But
we'll have to do a big excavation project out there probably every 3 or 4 years. Would you say, Jason, just to get the site restored and get all the rubble moved out, get some good soils in there? And that cost is actually really low. The other 2 or 3 bids we got were closer to $50,000. This was kind of the I want to earn your business price. Okay. So I would anticipate in the future closer to $40,000 or $50,000 for that expense.
Well, and if we don't spend it next year, then we save money for it, I guess. So, right. Okay. All good?
I just want to say one thing. The way you're setting the budget up with emergency funds gets back to the other portions of the budget that we looked at. We're allowing for contingencies. We're allowing for the emergencies. There's just not a lot of shooting from the hip in terms of going forward how we do things. So I really think it's prudent to have emergency funds for vehicles, for equipment, and for just unforeseen expenses, that's good planning. So I just appreciate the way you structured that in the budget, and I think going forward, this just becomes a much better process than what we've done in the past.
Mayor, two quick examples as to why it's important. We just lost a transmission on one of our police vehicles, very, very expensive. And then the mini split unit in the wastewater treatment plant just went out, and it's another $10,000 to $15,000. So those things aren't cheap, and we want to make sure the money to account for them when they arise.
Yeah.
An engine, not a transmission. So even worse.
And as those things have happened since we talked last, I put those into the budget. So when you see the final version, it will not be the exact same, because like even today, I was truing up franchise tax in that line item just to make it as accurate as I can, up to date. So if you look at your old budget book, when I give you your new one and say what happened, it's because I trued things up to emergencies that's happened since the last time we talked. So. All right, next one, Starbond Fund. So this fund, kind of a mystery fund to me for a long time. Got some education from Kevin and Matt and Craig. It's just been a fund that's been sitting there, and what it was leftover bond proceeds that serviced the debt on the Olympic Park. And so there was funds in there to be used, as long as we were using those on items within that area, improvements, it was okay to have those funds, or we can use the funds in there to service debt. So 2025 uses, I have used a portion of those funds to pay down, I think it was the interest payment that was due, and then we've got another bond payment due in October or November. So we'll continuously use that. We also did a capital improvement project over there for some stormwater infrastructure that needed done, and we made a contribution, a summer ball pitching mound to go into that district too. So that kind of drew down the funds in that, and that's the point. We need to use up those funds, and then once these funds are over, we just close the fund up and it's over with. But until then, we'll use the remaining balance in here to service the debt and help with debt payments on the Olympic Park. It's received a little bit of interest income just based on its fund balance that it has over time. It doesn't really generate anything else. There are a few expenses that come in, some permit fees and some issuance fees. I believe Gilmore Barrel has done just some reporting for us that I paid some bills out here from, that's required on the Starbond stuff. You'll see our contractor in construction, that was our stormwater project we did, some equipment and some interest payments, and so this is just the way that this fund's going to end. 2026, we'll budget for a few dollars for any sort of reporting or costs related to this fund, to these funds. We may not have any, but if we do, we've got a few dollars there, and some interest payments. So you'll see by 2029, 2026, we're pretty much I'm just kind of fleshing it out and using it until the end. I will never let it go negative. It can go to zero, it can't go negative. So that's the way this fund will work going forward.
Rick, I just want to mention real quick, because I think maybe this isn't common knowledge, but in 20-something, I don't remember what year, but the city had borrowed $3.5 million general obligation bond for a contribution towards the public infrastructure improvements to basically get the Starbond district up and going. That supported the construction of Crown Drive, some utility infrastructure, and I think maybe even a little bit of it towards the ARCA improvements. And so the debt payments that we're making on that are coming from a source of revenue from the property tax that's generated at that district, but it's taken some time for the district to build out, and so some of those debt payments are greater than the amount of revenue that we're receiving from the property taxes at the site, for the payment in lieu of taxes. But as we start to see more vertical construction out there, that we're getting a little bit closer to zero sum. We are using the leftover bond proceeds, and sorry if you hit this in a different way, but we're using those leftover proceeds to kind of make up the difference so we can cover that payment next year. The hope is that the property tax and pilot revenue will be great enough pretty quickly to fully support the debt service on that $3.5 million note. So it's been so long ago that I don't know that a lot of people will remember or realize that the city at large picked up a pretty big chunk of the tab to get the public infrastructure to the site. So but the projects probably didn't happen but for that contribution.
That's it for Chevron. Any questions on that one? All right, that's it. Can you believe it? All right, so next, meeting dates in August. That's to be determined if anybody decides they'd like to have another workshop. If you want to get back together and rehash anything, we have time to do that. If not, then our next meeting will be Wednesday, August 13th from 7 to 8. This is going to be our community engagement event. We're really trying to figure out how we want to do this, where it's most productive. Craig and I have been talking. We're going to reach out to some area communities that do this and just kind of see how they do it, just to get some input. Danny's going to help. Right, Danny? Help me? Good. Then after that, we're going to get all of our stuff published in the newspaper, the public hearing date, the hearing for R&R, which will happen at the same time, and we'll plan to do that on September 2nd. And then, voila, we're done. So,
Very good.
congratulations, team.
Great work.
And I want to say thanks to all the staff again. The staff is amazing at helping me get all of this and dealing with me, and I was already harassing him last night. He was $800 over budget on that $42 truck, but it's okay. We'll make it work. So he'll have to deal with me. Not always a lot of fun to deal with. So anyway, thanks to staff and all your help and input on this. That's all I have.
We'll move along. City Administrator, do you have any comments? We heard your report last night.
None, Mr. Mayor.
Good.
Anybody else on this side of the table? Brian? Sarah? All right. Council, comments?
Great work. That's very tedious to go through all that, and I don't know how you do it, but looks great. Thank you so much.
All right, it's a tremendous demonstration of transparency.
Yes.
And if people have questions, we'll sure really can answer them, and we shall charge ahead. I'll make a motion that we dismiss. Second. Krista seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
4-0. Thank you all for your time. We're dismissed.